In the aftermath of the Kurukshetra war between two cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, which caused a devastating loss of human life, Ashwatthama takes time out to focus and gather power from the supernatural gem on his forehead. He uses this power to send a fatal fireball to attack and kill Uttara and her unborn child, who is the last of the Pandavas. The highly disappointed Krishna scolds Ashwatthama for wanting to bring harm to a baby, and instead of killing him, he curses him to be immortal to witness humanity's misery and social and moral deterioration. Krishna then takes Ashwatthama's power gem and tells him that when the world turns so evil, he will reincarnate and return to save it, and that Ashwatthama must protect his birth against enemies as his atonement. 6,000 years later, in 2898 AD, all the rivers including River Ganga have dried out, and a group of people are set on their way to the only city left on Earth named Kashi. Inside the vehicle, a young father begs for water to give to his sick daughter Sanu, while an elderly Rumi amuses a couple of kids with stories. The group makes it to Kashi, where it's full of misery and people battle with hunger and thirst, while 200 years old, Supreme Yaskin lives and rules over the world in an inverted pyramid structure called Complex, levitating above the city. The civilians hear a lot of fantastical stories about the comfort of the complex and barter with the guards with their remaining valuables, and sometimes even with human life, to get a chance to be admitted inside. Upon the vehicle's arrival at the city gate, the guards proceed to separate the girls from the crowd, test their fertility with a scanning machine, and throw the fertile ones into the complex to use for Project K, which aims to find a serum from artificially inseminated fetuses for the Supreme Yaskin. During the scan, the ailing Sanu tests positive and is taken from her father as she screams in desperation. Of the arrivals, a girl named Raya, who has disguised herself as a boy, watches the scary scene and runs to hide from the guards. Rumi follows the girl, takes her to a discreet place, and calls for his men to come out of their hiding. Upon hearing his voice, the rebels from the hidden city of Shambhala, who believe in the prophesied arrival of Kalki, a reincarnation of Krishna, leave their hiding spot to greet him. The rebels connect Rumi with their leader Mariam through a holographic phone call. They then present him with a pregnant woman named Divya they found so that he can check if she's carrying the long-awaited Kalki. Everyone is disappointed when the test turns out negative, and as they discuss the meaning of it, Supreme Yaskin's guards raid their hideout and open fire. After some fighting, Rumi and Divya are captured and taken to a public platform, while the rest manage to escape and hide. The complex opens in quite a dramatic manner, and out comes Supreme Yaskin's higher official, Commander Manas, looking to hand his judgment on the prisoners. Upon realizing Divya's pregnancy, Commander Manas orders his men to take her to a lab and extract the fetus, unless Rumi can lead him to Shambhala. Rumi hesitates and he is killed by the commander, along with Divya, as Mariam watches through the holograph. The bounty hunters chase Raya and the other rebels as they run for their lives. One of the men, named Luke, is caught, and as they proceed to imprison him, a famous fighter named Bhairava and his AI car named Buji intercept. Bhairava then attempts to take Luke to the complex and get rewards. A fight ensues between the numerous crew of the bounty hunters and Bhairava. After some time, Bhairava manages to single-handedly take everyone down. Inside the complex, infertile women serve and take care of pregnant women who get better food and rest. One day, Commander Manas visits the scientists working with the women and demands they extract the serum, even though they inform him that it's only been 90 days as opposed to the required 150 days and advise him it's too early for the procedure. They detail to the commander that none of the women were able to carry the fetus to 150 days as it was too foreign and strong for them to. The commander ignores all this and supervises the extraction. They put a woman in a vessel for the procedure, but just as it is done, the woman dies, and her body is thrown into an incinerator. Disappointed by the outcome, the lead scientist demands to know the goal of Project K and the composition of the serum, and requests to be taken to see the Supreme Yaskin. Commander Manas takes the scientist and the serum and goes to see Supreme Yaskin's right-hand man, Counselor Bani, who accompanies and transports them to the leader. There, Supreme Yaskin takes hold of the serum and checks its viability. Supreme Yaskin kills the scientist and threatens the rest to figure out a way the fetuses can survive the full length of the required time. Then, one of the infertile women, named Sumati, confides in her friend Lily that she is 5 months pregnant. A few days later, one of the guards discovers Sumati's pregnancy and reports her to the hierarchy, while Counselor Bonnie is alerted to the discovery of a strange metallic structure he doesn't recognize and foresees the coming of difficult times for the dynasty. Meanwhile, outside the complex, Raya comes across a bounty hunter and runs for her life. After some distance, she finds a tomb-like cave and runs to hide inside it, but the bounty hunter's robot follows her in. It starts chasing her around in the cave, and when it attempts to kill her, Ashwatthama, now a very old man, wakes from his trance-like state and saves her. Back at the complex, Sumati is prepped and taken to the extraction unit for the procedure, as Commander Manas excitedly supervises. Once inside, Sumati screams for help, but after a few moments of extraction, the vessel unusually malfunctions, and the complex's electricity is interrupted, which confuses everyone, including the counselor and the commander, as it's never happened before. The extraction unit releases Sumati, and she is saved by her confidant, Lily, who reveals herself as an undercover Shambhala rebel. Lily sacrifices herself and leads Sumati to the secret underground tunnel that leads out of Kashi, which is guarded by fire. Sumati walks through the fire without any problems, while the guards chasing her get burned to death. Meanwhile, Ashwatthama finds his missing gem with Raya, gladly puts it back into his forehead, and realizes that the long-awaited time of Krishna's reincarnation has come. Strange things keep occurring all over. Outside the complex, Bhairava saves the civilians from a giant falling tomb, and he too realizes that something's amiss with the world. Counselor Bonnie discovers that the strange metallic structure is an ancient weapon called Gandev, and only the Special One knows how to use it. In Kashi, Rebellion's Viren, Kira, and her boyfriend Aju transport Sumati to Shambhala while openly sharing their fascination to see a pregnant woman after a long time. During the ride, the chatty Kira explains the concept of marriage to Sumati and invites her to her and Aju's upcoming wedding. Kira then renames their guest Sumati. However, the calm ride is interrupted by the arrival of raiders. The rebels manage to disarm the raiders and narrowly escape, but as soon as they do, the raiders send out a bounty to every bounty hunter in the world. Hence, the rebels are met with numerous bounty hunters, all looking to take Sumati to the complex and get a reward. During the intense fight, Kyra gets killed, which devastates Aju, but he has no time to process this as a flock of bounty hunters continue chasing and attacking them. After successfully neutralizing many of them, Aju gets injured and the group gets cornered by hundreds of hunters. Led by his gem, Ashwatthama arrives with Raya to easily subdue all of the men. Bhairava arrives late to the fight and engages in a fierce fight with the old man. After a brutal and lengthy fight, Ashwatthama comes out on top and joins the rebels and Sumati to Shambhala. In the complex, after hearing the description of the giant that defeated all the bounty hunters, Counselor Bonnie realizes it's Ashwatthama. The counselor connects the dots and panikedly informs Commander Manas that all the prophecies written in the ancient books are coming true. Moreover, he stresses that they must do whatever it takes to stop the birth of Krishna from Sumati, as that would threaten Supreme Yaskin's life. Meanwhile, Viren arrives at Shambhala with the injured Aji, Raya, Ashwatthama, and Sumati. The fellow rebels challenge Ashwatthama's motives, question Sumati's identity, and wonder if it's safe for them to shelter her when she has a 5 million unit bounty out on her. In Shambhala, it's officially declared that the one they have been waiting for has arrived, and all the rebels look ahead with hope. Meanwhile, in Kashi, Bhairava finds himself around the rest of the bounty hunters, who are furious with him for intercepting them and blame him for Sumati's escape. The raiders from the complex then blacklist Bhairava, which forbids him from ever entering the complex. Bhairava falls into depression as a result of his dreams being crushed. He returns to his house, releases Luke, and sulks. Luke, who is indebted to him for sparing his life and who is in awe of his heroics, offers to take him to Shambhala so that he can join the rebellion. Bhairava is revitalized at the prospect and gets excited. However, he approaches the raiders and Commander Manas to inform and promise them that he can bring in Sumati. The commander promises Bhairava that he will personally escort him to the complex, if he delivers on his promise. Later that night, a special ceremony is held in Shambhala where everyone gathers to sing in praise, during which Sumati gets a disturbing vision of a looming disaster. After the ceremony, Ashwatthama shares with Raya that his walking stick is a secret ancient weapon that belonged to his warrior late friend Karn, and without whom it doesn't function and reveal its special power. Meanwhile, in Kashi, Bhairava uses all of his remaining assets to modify Buji and gets prepared to head to Shambhala. In Shambhala, Ashwatthama explains to Sumati the significance of her pregnancy and comforts her over her guilt of causing so much death. Luke joins Bhairava and leads him to Shambhala. He gets the hunter past the guards, but as they proceed inside, Bhairava knocks him out. As he proceeds further in, Bhairava is met by Ashwatthama, and an intense and brutal fight ensues where they both come full force. As Bhairava has prepared and equipped Buji better, he is able to withstand the fight for longer, and with the help of his trusty car. The rebels come in number to aid Ashwatthama, and as the fight continues, Shambhala is infiltrated once more. At this shocking incident, Miriam tells her men to contain the attack with a force field and takes Sumati away. A war ensues between the complex's numerous raiders and the Shambhala warriors as the commander watches from a floating platform, which Miriam jumps on to distract and attract the commandeer, but gets killed in the process. Ashwatthama continues his fight with Bhairava and knocks him out. While everyone fights with each other, the commander focuses on finding Sumati. He locks Ashwatthama in a belt, ties him to the ground while he isolates Sumati, and takes her on his platform as the old man helplessly watches on. All of a sudden, Bhairava wakes up in a trance-like state and takes hold of Ashwatthama's cane, which transforms into a weapon upon his touch. Ashwatthama watches in astonishment as he recognizes his friend Karn, who fiercely attacks and kills the commander. He then rescues Sumati from the platform, and just as he approaches Buji, comes out of his trance and back to his obnoxious Bhairava self. Bhairava sees Ashwatthama breaking the belts holding him, hurriedly boards Buji with Sumati, and flies away as the old man begs him to slow down and talk to him. Ashwatthama has no choice but to watch as he fails in his responsibility to protect Krishna's birth. The movie ends as Counselor Bani approaches Supreme Yaskin with a single drop of serum extracted from Sumati. Supreme Yaskin takes the serum, takes hold of the Gandev, and promises to find Sumati. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch our next videos on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you on the next one.